Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
Do you know the Canadian national anthem?
Oh, Canada?
Oh, Canada. Can
Is
you
that what
sing it?
No.
Is that what it is?
I don't know what it is.
You're not going to sing that?
The only stuff I know about Canada is from South Park.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we probably really shouldn't do that. No, that's probably not the best way to get started. Maybe we should just do a proper introduction.
Okay.
And jump into this. We are going north of the border today.
All right. I'm going to say that in my intro if you let me get to it.
Oh, you are? Oh, jeez. All right. Let's try this one here. See if we can get you something.
Today on the Farm for Fun show, we head back to our friendly neighbors to the north.
Ah, yes.
This man is an Ag Twitter OG, or do I now say Ag X OG? He's a farmer, a husband, a dad, an overall positive dude, spreading his love and wisdom across all socials, where he has over 14,000 followers on TikTok, 1,800 on Instagram, and almost 1,000 on YouTube, and I couldn't read my writing there for a second, over 20,000 on Twitter, which is a huge Twitter following.
Yeah.
Please welcome from Central Alberta, Canada, Mr. John Kalachak.
Yes. All right. We should be calling him Mr.
I don't
Ag
even know
X.
if I ever asked him how to. I've always just said Kalachak. Is that how you say it?
It's Kowalchuk.
Kowalchuk.
No. Kowalchuk. I've been called worse.
Wow. Wow.
This is a professional podcast.
This is where I say it's edited. Mr. John Kowalchuk. What? Okay, nope. Can't do it anyway.
Kowalchuk.
And I'm going to have a Busch Light.
That's
Here
the
we go.
Australian name.
You ever had one of those days where you just go from coffee to beer? That's what we're doing today.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, John, it's been a long time coming to get you on here. We've wanted you for a while, and it happened to just work out perfect this time. What's going on, man?
Well, we got done harvest and right into snow, so we got like 3 or 4 inches of snow up here. So it's your Canadian moment right there. It's just white everywhere, and yeah, no, it was a good harvest and got through that, and pretty happy about that. And we're always on a different schedule than you guys are down in the U.S., so I know you're kind of still into it. So, but up here, most of the guys are pretty much done. So
That doesn't make any sense. You're done before. You're up north of us.
Right.
What?
You should not be done
No,
sooner.
it's not allowed.
Not allowed.
But they do get snow before us, so.
I do like how
Yeah.
you said in your introduction, Ag Twitter OG, but is it Ag X OG? That just becomes like you're trying to spell a word and you don't know how the English language works.
Right. But ever since I've been on Twitter, you've been there. And I know didn't you have an account deleted?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I had. I kind of got kicked off there. It was kind of a funny story because the day Donald Trump got kicked off, I got booted off Twitter the same day. So it's that's my claim to fame. So, anyways, but no, I got my other account back, but it had been like 2 years, so I just stuck with the one I was kind of going with, and most of the people followed me right back again. But it was just over trying to do TikTok things on Twitter because they don't really like music on Twitter. So there was a couple of us. There was another couple of guys down in the U.S., I think farmers, that kind of got booted off the same time for copyright. So
Okay.
I appealed it, but I didn't get it back until like about 2 years later. So.
I think I got a warning for that on one, and then I realized, I probably shouldn't do that anymore, which you never really got the traction on Twitter that I got on TikTok, so I just quit putting them on there.
Yeah, well, I used to put up videos on Twitter back in the day all the time with music on it. I did it for years, and just you'd kind of do like a drone video or whatever and put it on there and add a little bit of music. And
Right.
then all of a sudden, bang, they started hitting them all and just, copyright. And then, boom, your account's done.
Yeah, we've learned the hard way on the podcast, too. Tanner used to give me some AC/DC or something, really
It was so
cool.
much fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yep.
Now it's royalty-free, and even the royalty-free ones give us some problems sometime, and we have to appeal those. But whatever.
Yeah. It is nice to be able to put some real music onto stuff. It does add a little bit to it, and it's too bad because I've watched some of your guys' videos in the past, and the cool intros with AC/DC playing in the back's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a little AC/DC.
I know.
And it's all fine until somebody really gets mad at you and goes after you seriously, because everybody knows it's just the way it works.
Yep.
So Central Alberta, for us down in the States who don't know our Canadian geography, where, like, if you went straight south, where would you be in the United States?
Into Montana. So right below Alberta would be Montana, and then a lot of times in the winter we'll drive down to California. We'll go through like Montana, and then kind of Nevada, then hit Arizona. We actually hit quite a few different states on our way down to California, and kind of hit California. We're kind of we're more on the same time zone as, say, Idaho and Montana. And as far as in Alberta itself, you guys might have heard of Drumheller. I don't know if you ever heard of Drumheller, Alberta.
I have not.
Now, it's kind of famous because of the dinosaurs.
Oh.
So there's like tons and tons of paleontology stuff there with the dinosaurs in that area.
Okay.
So if you've seen any of my videos when I'm going to work in the mornings from Trochu, I drive through the Red Deer River Valley, and it's kind of layered. Kind of over the years, the water has washed down through all the bentonite layers, and in those bentonite layers were layers of dinosaur bones. So the museum down in Drumheller is full of like full-size, full-on dinosaurs. So, and we've had movies filmed in that area too. Like the last Ghostbusters was filmed in like southern Alberta, central Alberta.
Really?
So, yeah, we've had quite a few movies filmed around here too.
That sounds something that my kids would like to go see.
You're running up to Drumheller. Drumheller's, it's the Royal Tyrrell Museum. Large collection of dinosaur fossils. Stairs that wind inside the world's largest dinosaur.
Wow. What's the world's largest dinosaur?
Giant T-Rex. Is that right, John?
Yeah, there's a T-Rex. Yeah, the Albertosaur is actually, I think, even bigger. The one that was discovered. They discovered a really big one up here, and I don't think it's quite as well known as the T-Rex. But yeah, there's some cool ones. Lots of people come up here to see it. So
the Albertosaur. We need an Iowasaur.
Yeah.
It's like Snarkosaurus.
That's
snark.
I was getting ready to make a joke. It's like the Iowasaur's like herpes or something.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, that might be edited.
You went a different direction than I thought we were going.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cankersaur. That'd be the Iowasaur.
Oh, my God. We're supposed to make fun of Canada here, not ourselves.
That's the Albertosaur. Yeah. Shouldn't be a big dinosaur.
Albertosaur.
Should be a cankersaur.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh, and you guys have heard of Banff. Have you ever heard of Banff, Alberta?
Banff? No.
Banff?
What is?
You've never heard of Banff?
Did you not hear that all of my Canadian knowledge comes from South Park?
Yeah.
How do you spell Banff?
B-A-N-F.
B-A-N-F-F. F-F.
F.
B-A-N-F-F.
That's not a word.
It's up in the mountains. It's like a beautiful area.
Oh, it
that
looks
is
like it's got a green lake and a
Yep. Lake Louise is up there.
waterfall. Resort town located in the province of Alberta. Peaks of Mount Rundle, Mount Cascade, and Cankersaurs. Oh, no. That's not right.
God.
We don't usually promote those.
Oh, that's right. Oh, they've even got boutiques for you. Boutiques and
boutiques
restaurants
everywhere.
and chateau-style hotels, souvenir shops. You could you go up there and you go see the giant dinosaur, run over and see the Green Lake,
When do I have to go up there where it's not freezing?
and 4 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Whew. We get it usually 2 days in July.
Small window.
It's a small window, yeah. Yeah, you could stay at the Kowalchuk Bed and Breakfast in Trochu, Alberta. So there you go.
That
Just
sounds
drive around.
delightful.
Let's back up.
Let's
back
talk
up to
about
that.
the bed and breakfast. Yeah. Let's talk about the farm.
Okay. Talk about the farm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a grain farmer here, so I grow wheat, barley, and malt barley, and then I grow canola, of course. It's a Canadian kind of staple. Everybody up here that is a grain farmer kind of grows canola, and then I kind of dabble in different pulses. So like red lentils, yellow peas, faba beans. I've grown soybeans up here. I had a 5-year trial that I did with different varieties through different companies, and just to see if it was feasible to grow soybeans here. So yeah, kind of widespread crops.
And was it feasible to grow soybeans?
No, because the late season moisture were lacking. Otherwise, there were years we got. So in 2016, when I grew them, we ended up having a horrible fall. It was wet, and we got all sorts of rain, like late August for us kind of thing, and right into harvest. And then harvest got delayed, but it was my best year for soybeans. So they yielded actually quite well that year. So I always said that if that's what it takes to get a good yield for soybeans, I don't want it, because everything else was such a headache to try to get off. So that was definitely the year, was that late season moisture. And that's what we lack here. It's just a little too dry. The heat unit ones, so the CHUs, kind of what we evaluate how the long of a growing season the soybeans take up here is, for us, we were around that 2,400 CHUs, and so we had to grow some pretty early varieties, which don't normally yield as well. So, so no, it wasn't quite feasible, but it was still a fun thing to grow something different.
Right. If you were growing soybeans and you actually got a crop that one year, where did you take them? If it's not a normal crop.
Yep. So there are farms in Saskatchewan and Manitoba that grow them. So there's a processing plant right here in southern Alberta, which is only like, the plant's like 2.5-hour drive from where I'm at. Okay. And they would take all the soybeans I could grow, right? But they were importing them normally from Saskatchewan or Manitoba and bringing them in like from like, I don't know how many miles, like 1,000 miles away, 800, like a long ways away. They were having to bring these in. So they were quite happy to bring some local ones in, and we're pretty good about it. And marketing wasn't an issue. It was just making them yield.
Right.
That was the problem.
Why put a plant there? Why, if you're gonna have a soybean crush plant, why put it thousands of miles away from soybeans?
Yep. So the crush was the big part of it. So getting the meal into the dairy into southern Alberta, and so it was an actual. It's a kind of like we have Hutterites up here, Hutterite colony, and they were needing the meal to supply the dairies and different for feed value. So it was more the meal than the oil, right? So they were using it as a feed.
So it still must have been cheaper to truck the soybeans in and make it,
right,
than it was just to bring the meal in.
Than to ship it. Yeah, they could buy the raw product and process it themselves right on farm, right? And they found it easier. So that was kind of the reason. So yeah, there is still a few guys that grow soybeans in, like I say, Saskatchewan and Manitoba for sure that grow them. And the one thing we don't really grow a lot up here is corn, which would be cool to grow corn, but that's always been on my bucket list, was to someday come down and help harvest corn. So that's kind of a cool looking thing to do. So
well, I think if you leave now, Corey still needs help.
Yeah.
You need some help. Yeah.
I think they make like a 72-day maturity corn. I mean, is that still too long for you?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, it would be. It's we just get cold too soon in the fall here, and probably wouldn't make maturity. Yeah. And then we kind of have frost on both sides, right? So you're delayed in the spring, and then it's early in the fall, right? So there's just not a big window in there. But
so what is your window? Like, when do you start planting and when do you harvest?
Yeah, so I would start planting the end of April for wheat, because you can put wheat into frost almost, right? We're seeding wheat into really cold soil. So we'll throw it in April, and then canola is usually the first, second week of May kind of thing. And we're harvesting by the middle of August a lot of years. So we'll be taking off barley and wheat the 15th of August, and then canola's usually September kind of thing. And our first frost, though, this year there was stories around that it was like the 20th of August we were getting a frost. So definitely we get it pretty early, eh? So
wow. That is early.
I'm always impressed by you Canadians and how many crops you grow, and like how you keep it all straight and like store it, and it just seems like a lot going on.
Have you ever seen a red lentil?
No, I don't think so.
Do you even know what a lentil is? Because I don't necessarily know.
They're like little. They're like a quarter of a soybean.
So are
Little
they?
flying saucers.
Yeah,
Little flying saucers.
Are they
never had
grown
lentils?
for? No, I don't think so.
they're good.
What do they taste like, Corey?
A lentil? Aren't they high in protein or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So are yellow peas, right? So most pulses are pretty high in protein. So, yep.
You didn't get into that when you were trying
and
to
they
be
do
healthy?
very well.
When you weren't getting your protein up,
When I was
you
trying
should
to
have been
get my-
eating lentils
when
with
I
your
was-
meat.
Trying to get my protein up. I should have.
But they like really dry years. So lentils grow well in Saskatchewan. You get into that, they call it the Palliser Triangle in Saskatchewan, where they hardly get any rain and they grow very well because they say lentils need water twice in their lifetime, once to germinate and once to make into soup. So that's about all they need.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
so what's
they
what-
grow really well.
what's
Yeah.
a good lentil yield? Is it bushel or pounds? How do you measure that?
They're sold by the pound, but yields are anywhere from 30 to 50 bushels. So and they in some years they'll pay very well per pound. So like 30 to 40 cents a pound. So yep.
Do you put those in a grain bin?
Yep. Yep. You can store them, and yeah, I've had some in. I sold the last of my lentils here about 2 months ago, and they'd been in a bin for 10 months, 10, 11 months in a bin, and they store very well. So
So that's
a lot
obviously
of our grain wheat.
it's all food grade, right? Like, is there any special things
Yes.
you got to do with that?
No, I think it's just being aware of things like fungicide and and timing of spraying and all that. You're pretty careful on all that stuff, but for sure it's as far as storage, you just being careful not to contaminate it and being smart about it. But but definitely it can be a good crop for certain areas for sure.
So what's your favorite crop to grow?
Oof.
I mean, because if
That's
you
a
ask
tough one.
anyone in the Midwest, they're always going to say corn,
corn, yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, for us it's I know you guys probably, and I hear it lots, that wheat is kind of not a big one, but it's usually a filler crop. But for us up here, it's been a staple for so long. I grew up with my dad growing wheat back in the, the 70s and that, and 60s and 70s. I was born kind of the late 60s. So it was kind of, the thing is canola was kind of coming out in the mid 70s. So wheat was always the thing I kind of reminisce and think about back when my dad was farming and hanging out with him and, going out and taking the weed off. So, but canola is a pretty cool crop too. So it's kind of neat when it's flowering. You guys have probably seen pictures of it lots and that too. So, but definitely wheat is probably the big one. It's just such a staple in Alberta and Western Canada, right? Then we can grow some pretty good wheat crops, but malt barley is probably my favorite one after it's been processed. So
Heard that.
I was going to ask. So, canola, is it purely for canola oil, or is there another end use for canola?
Yeah, so there's meal as well, right? So it's
Okay.
separated out into the oil and the meal is used also in dairy. A lot of our meal that gets processed, or the canola that gets processed up here, the meal is sent into the northern U.S. into dairies too for feed, right? So the U.S. is actually quite a big buyer of Canadian canola as far as meal and that, to help supply some of that because it's a high protein, easily fed kind of thing, and yeah.
There's a guy that grew canola down here, not too many miles away, a few years ago. You just drive by and it's yellow field out in the summer, and I think canola goes through one of the most drastic changes from its crop look to what you harvest. Because I swear it probably took me till this last summer of I knew what canola looked like with the yellow flower, and then that thing with the long pod or whatever you would call that. I never knew that was canola.
pods, yeah.
I never knew it was until this year.
I just don't
And
know
I've
what you're
been in-
talking about. I'm going to look at what that,
Really?
because I assumed it looked more like a soybean.
No, not well. Maybe the color of a soybean.
Well, at the end when it's mature, yes, very similar. I would say it's kind of that brownish tinge to it, but it would be way taller. So we can have canola that's 4 to 6 feet tall, pretty easy in some years. So it grows quite tall, and the pods are mainly bunched at the top, so you can leave 12 to 20 inches of stubble when
that's
you
nice.
combine it. Yeah, and it really catches snow well, so it's a good a pre-crop for wheat or barley on after. And yeah.
So do you grow a crop on every acre every year, or since you're dry, do you leave some fallow?
No, we're a continuous crop straight through. Everything's direct seeded, continuous crop. I have land that I help break from like trees and brush and that back when I was in my teens that has never seen summer fallow. It's been direct seeded since then. So some of it's upwards of 40 years of direct seeding. So continuous crop direct seeding. And we're getting higher and higher organic matter, which is important for us in lighter soils. And we've been getting better and better crops all the time. So it definitely works well up here.
I imagine your small seeds rotation really helps with that, and always having something. What is like a typical rotation for a normal acre for you?
So so say if I have canola would go into like a barley after. So, and then after the barley, I might put like a yellow peas. And then after the yellow peas, I might put wheat in. And then wheat would go back into canola. So you'd have like a 3-4 year rotation kind of thing. And each one complements the next, the way it works when you have a rotation like that. So the big one would be the yellow peas going into the wheat, because the yellow peas actually nodulate and produce their own nitrogen, and some of that gets left in the soil for the following year. So we actually have a nitrogen benefit the following year after peas, and we'll see better results in our wheat and better yields and higher proteins in it. So
Yep.
so it's kind of a beneficial crop after another. It works quite well for us.
You're building your soil, and everyone says we're killing it because we're just growing corn and soybeans, because we're not doing it like we did 100 years ago, where it was, corn,
You should
and then
you should plant some canola, and you'd have a picture perfect field.
beans and alfalfa and then oats, then beans or whatever, like.
Yeah.
I would.
I
if
don't know.
we could get some
I
good
don't.
pay.
I don't agree with that. It's that bad. Like, I think it's what works in your area, and
Right.
I know across North America there's such a wide range of crop rotations and what works as far as, because I've grown so many different crops, I see how not everything's going to work for everyone, and you just basically have to do what works best for your farm in your area, and that can even be different than what your neighbor would grow or what works for them, right? So
Right.
it does work differently throughout North America for sure.
It is funny, the hot takes that people the soapboxes that people get on, and it's in the grand scheme of things.
Why is it called a soapbox? Did people literally grab their box of soap back in the day and stand on it? Is that literally what it is, John?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, guys you'd be in a grocery store and somebody wanted to tell everybody what they wanted them to hear. They'd stand on a soapbox so they were above everybody and start yelling out their thoughts. And
I bet they'd listen a
Kinda
heck of a lot better if they
social media.
stood on a case of beer.
in case
I mean,
if you hand out the beer while you're standing,
That's right. I'd listen.
I don't think a soapbox, like a actual bars of soap, would hold me up. I'd try to get by like a milk crate or something like that.
I can't wait. I hope Kiowa picks that clip to edit, because I want to see the graphics that come along with someone standing on a soapbox, someone standing on a case of beer, and someone standing on a milk crate.
Yeah.
and who listens? Yeah, who's actually getting everybody to listen
Yes,
to them? For sure.
yes. That's great. So you got snow at your place now. This fall went pretty smooth for you?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was just some minor breakdowns here and there, but it kind of forced me in at the end of harvest to look at a different combine. So I did purchase a different combine, and I don't know if you guys follow me on social media, you probably saw the Canada
Yes,
one.
we
It's got a
did.
big flag. So yeah. So that was kind of like a flagship one, they called them. And when that model came out in 2012, they had so many that went across Canada, and they had the flag on them. So that's where that guy came from. So.
Yeah, he tagged me. He said, "Is this like the Canadian equivalent of the Busch Light Combine?"
Yeah.
I
What-
need to get
But no,
back on that.
yeah, it went well. It was the harvest just kind of, the last 2 years have actually went very well. So I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, and I do mainly work by myself. So I have my brother in the fall that helps out, and my son helps a little bit running combine. I have some buddies that I golf with that come out and will help once in a while too. So a lot of times in the fall, if things go smoother, we'll just like keep on going. So I'll work all morning for them to come out in the afternoons, and then they'll come out and start harvesting, and then I'll run truck. And it's a lot of 18-hour days, but it
Right.
goes through quick that way.
So what is the dynamic like? Was it a multi-generational farm that you're on?
Yeah, so my dad actually started the farm, but it was kind of later. It was in the 50s, but he came from the Ukraine in 1929. He came to Canada from the Ukraine, and then he worked for his brother-in-law around the Rumsey area, and then some land came up for sale, and he bought that. And then met my mom. She's from a town called Big Valley, which is really close to Rumsey, and it's kind of a cowboy town too. And they got married, and then bought the farm in about 52, I think it was 1952. And then my brother and I farmed with my dad later on, and then my brother moved and farmed close to Drumheller for a while, and then he retired now, so he comes back and helps me at the main farm where we all started. And but definitely my multi-generational farm covers multiple continents, so it was basically my great grandparents and my grandparents would have farmed over in the Ukraine, and my mom was English and the same thing in England, and that too is her family came from farming as well. So we may not be a multi-Canadian generational farm,
Right.
but definitely across different continents. My family has farmed probably for hundreds and hundreds of years. So
But even then, I would still call that multiple generations. I mean,
But it's never thought of that because I mean, I say I'm fifth generation, but in all honesty, we have pictures of the old farm in Norway with the rock walls and keeping the sheep and stuff in. Like, so then how deep do you go?
right? Do you still have
Exactly,
family?
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
no, exactly. It was that was always the thing. Like we have some multi-generational farms that are like 4 or 5 generation in Canada, right? And that's kind of how it's usually looked at. But I was like, well, my dad came over to Canada and his first job was farming, and it was and his dad in the Ukraine farmed. So how's that any different, I guess? And that way you could still say you're multi-generational. But
Well, I think you should. I mean, I don't see any reason, absolutely any reason not to.
Now I need to look up and I'm going to start introducing myself like 12th generation farmer.
That's right. And just see what people say.
exactly, yeah. How far back?
So do you still have family in Ukraine?
Yeah, they're kind of more on the west side, so away from most of the conflict. So
Good.
we just keep track through Facebook mostly. So with some of them, and yeah, but definitely there's still some ties back there. But my dad was an only son, so in Canada, the Kowalczyk line basically is, as far as direct relatives, is just my brother and I. So everybody always asks me, "Oh, are you related to this and this Kowalczyk?" And I was just like, the odds are pretty low. Probably not.
Unless there's something I don't know about.
Yeah, but that and Kowalczyk in Ukrainian is basically Smith. So it stands for blacksmith in Ukraine. So there are lots and lots of Kowalczyks.
Okay.
Just so you know, it's a lot easier to pronounce and spell Smith.
John Smith. There's a ton of those.
Yeah, there's no John Smiths around. I've never heard of a John Smith.
That's funny.
I could at least pronounce it though. Yeah.
Well, we always like to let our listeners know how much we care about them and how much we care about the reviews. We had another review that was left for us, John. It was not from John Smith. It was from Skin818. I wonder if that's an Alberta area code, 818.
I have no idea.
He said, Johnny said, great shows. Thanks, guys. Very informational and entertaining at the same time. Show ideas would be more in tune with equipment topics, repair, refurbish, and upfitting.
And equipment shops.
Yeah, equipment shops. Repairing.
So he wants
Want some different
ideas
types
on-
of shows. Yeah,
on equipment. Well, that's hard to talk about.
it is.
It's very cool to see because there's like some Facebook groups on like
That's
your
true.
shop and all that when the guys are going to build a shop and it's like, oh, I want this or I don't want that. I want in-floor heat. I want radiant heat.
Could you imagine somebody like Denzel narrating?
Washington.
Yep. Denzel narrating the description of a shop in a dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
You got an 8 by 12 foot office, 14-foot ceilings, a 20 by
I
48
don't know.
door.
I might fall asleep if I can't have visuals.
But you guys probably remember MTV Cribs.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, yes.
So why don't they have that for farm shops?
Right?
They should have it. You guys should do that where you go in and you go like have the guy walk in and explain
We got exhibit.
about his shop and say, "Hey, over here, look at you get famous people. You get like Zach or whoever, anybody.
Yeah.
Some guys going in the
Hell,
shop. And
we
showing
could
off
probably
their
get
shop.
Exhibit cheaper than Zach at this point. I think, like you could still just do what you did with Cribs, but you're doing it for a shop.
Get into here.
Yeah.
He's probably looking for work.
He probably is.
Got his cornrows and all. Just welcome to MTV Crib. I love that show. It was cool.
Over here. Yeah.
And you're right. There's so many variations. I mean, and you could do that with grain bin sites,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Like, because it is a hard thing. It's very, very expensive, and this is going to be on your farm for probably more than your generation, probably multiple generations. My grandpa built our shop in 1993, and it's still our main shop. It was he thought ahead at the time, and it's still going to be there probably for my kids. So it's a big decision to take that on. Like, I'm making a decision and putting a lot of capital into something that not just me is going to use. So.
Yeah. And they're never big enough. That's the number one rule. No matter how big you build it, they're probably not going to be big enough.
Right. Like when we were putting that grain bin up this
That's just the
summer,
way it is.
I was like, let's just add 2 more rings.
Yeah.
And guess what? We should have added 2 more rings.
Yep.
Yep. So that's always how it is. But you only got so much money, so you don't dig yourself in a big hole. Because I feel like we're in a hole now.
Well, I totally get it. Well, John, we also like to play games with our friends that come on the podcast. We've got a game that we started off receiving a little bit of flack for because the way we described it. So we changed the way it's played. It's called Start, Bench, or Cut. So are you a fan of sports?
Yep.
So you understand the analogy. You got a team you're putting together.
Yep.
You're going to pick your starter, you're going to pick the person you're going to keep as reserves, and you're going to cut somebody from your roster. Except for none of this has to do with any people at all.
These are all good ones.
All right, you go first.
All right. Wheat, barley, canola. Or do you grow barley?
Yeah, oh yeah, I grow
Yeah, that's
malt
right.
barley, yeah.
Yeah, malt barley. There we go. That's
Ooh. So I guess I'd have to start wheat. That's really tough. Bench barley and cut canola. Oh, I hate to cut canola.
Yes.
Canola's been so good. I don't know.
That's pretty good. Okay, here's your next one. And I don't know if this applies to Canada because Canada might not have a summer.
warm
Start-
spring.
Second spring. Start, bench, cut. Winter, summer, spring.
Ooh, start spring, definitely. Bench summer and cut winter, yeah.
Yeah, you
But
know-
mind you, then we'd only have like a week left.
Right. There's no fall in there.
No, because he would have started fall. Everybody would start fall. Fall's the best season.
I like spring. Something
Oh, no,
about
spring-
coming to life.
Spring, yeah.
Oh,
Starting spring all day long. Yeah.
man, I like
It's like
fall.
new hope. I do love fall, but it's never long enough.
I don't know, this has been a weird
Yeah.
fall for us. It's like fall, and then here's 3 days of summer again.
Yeah.
And then here's fall, and
It's better than those ones that it's like summer and then winter. Like 90 degrees, next week snow, no, like
falls in there that little
60s.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was overnight on the transition from summer to fall, or
Right.
summer to winter. How about TikTok, Twitter, YouTube?
I'd have to start Twitter for sure.
when do people start calling it X?
Nobody's gonna call it X. Sorry. Quit trying to make X happen.
Right.
That's what I say.
Right.
It's ag Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'd bench probably YouTube and cut TikTok.
Really? You do so well on TikTok.
It's such a fickle thing. I just find I don't know. Some days it's like, this is awesome. And the next day it's like, wow, I don't know. I just spent the last 4 hours and I'm no smarter.
Yeah. I've gotten really good at not spending too much time on TikTok. It used to suck up a lot, but now it's like, it's business. Get on there, get your stuff done. Get out.
It like puts me to sleep at night. I spend more of my time on there between 9 and 11 o'clock. Not necessarily consecutively from 9 to 11, but that's my consumption period. Mm-hmm. All right, what are you going to do next?
I'm on there kind of in the evenings too. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my time too.
We should do the bottom one.
Pancakes, waffles, French toast.
Well, you're starting waffles all day long. I think they're pretty good. Benching pancakes and cutting French toast because if it's not cooked right, French toast can be really soggy and disgusting. Whereas
Right.
That's
waffles
true.
and pancakes, you can get away with it. So
I think I would have cut pancakes, but I'm
Really?
a big French toast fan. I love my Texas toast French toast.
See, I could almost cut waffles.
Really?
Because a pancake that's cooked right, nice and fluffy, and waffles I feel like get like too tough. But I'm always thinking of the waffles at like a hotel.
Oh no.
Right.
homemade waffles are awesome.
Or like a Perkins waffle that just you get such deep crevices that hold the syrup and the strawberries and the whipped cream or the blueberries.
When do you have time to go to Perkins?
I'm hungry.
I can't remember the last time I've been to a Perkins. And the funny thing is most of the time I
Do you
get
guys
the
have-
chicken fried steak breakfast.
Do we have
Do
what?
you guys have Eggos down there? Or Eggos in the U.S.?
Yeah, we do have Eggo
Lego
waffles.
my
yeah.
Eggo.
My girls eat those.
Eggo waffles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those aren't the best, but in a pinch they'll do. But yeah.
I'd rather have Pop-Tart.
Ooh, it's been a long time since I've had a Pop-Tart. But I did see on Instagram, John, of somebody that got a Pop-Tart with like only had a little bit of splash of frosting on it. And he said it must have been a Friday afternoon and the frosting guy was ready to get out of it.
Good enough.
Yeah, the Friday night. Yeah, exactly. That's why you don't want a combine built on a Friday.
That's right.
Missing
That-
parts.
Yeah, we do not need any of that.
No.
So as we dive back into John, see, we play little fun games like that to try and get a little better picture as to who John is. And now we know that no soggy French toast. That's pretty much what we learned there.
Waffle guy.
Waffle guy.
That's all. Yeah.
Beer and waffle. We're not doing waffles and chicken anymore.
Beer.
It's beer and waffles.
No, he's probably just smothers it in some of that Canadian maple syrup.
Maple syrup. Yeah.
Okay, so what are
Yeah.
some famous Canadian foods?
Definitely maple syrup. Do you guys chug maple syrup? Is that how that goes up there?
No.
Like
It
Super
comes from
Troopers?
mostly Eastern Canada. Actually, I just had a buddy. He was a farmer that I met through Twitter, and he came to the farm this summer and brought me maple syrup from his farm. So it's from the trees on his farm that they have their own brand name maple syrup, and it's awesome. Stuff
That's
like
very
that's
cool.
pretty cool. So
We should get a maple syrup person on here because it's
We
pretty
had
cool.
Nikki on.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
They tap those trees and they got lines running everywhere.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty cool.
yeah, you guys forgot poutine.
Poutine.
For the foods, Canadian foods, the cheese
Poutine.
curds and the gravy on the French fries.
That's what it
Yes.
is.
It's like, it's so awesome.
Says Canada is also known for their Caesar, and a Caesar looks like a Bloody Mary.
Yes.
But what is that?
Bloody Mary, yeah, it's close, but it has clamato. So it's that clamato, Mott's clamato in it with the vodka, and then you put spices, and
Yeah.
you can get loaded Caesars like with a hamburger on top of them. They make them they're like
Isn't
a
that
meal.
like the Australian
All we're doing is getting hungrier when we
Yeah.
talk about this.
Perkins and Caesars now?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking
the Caesar
dressings.
was actually founded in Calgary. Well, you guys probably know Calgary.
Yes,
Have you heard of
yes.
the Calgary Stampede?
Yes.
Yeah. Dave's
so
been
I'm
up
only
there.
an hour. I'm an hour and a half north, so
Further into Canada.
into the warm part.
Is there any other- is there any-
further north? No.
Other Canadian foods? I can't read that small.
Maple syrup, Montreal smoked meat, a tortillere. A tortillere?
What would be different about smoked meat in Montreal?
Their
They're just
style.
famous for it.
Yeah. Quebec is a type of kosher-style deli meat. Product made by salting and curing brisket with spices. And then hot smoked cooked
What about
through.
Canadian bacon?
Oh,
Canadian bacon. You guys have heard of Canadian bacon?
Oh, yeah, we can get
absolutely.
that on our Casey's Pizza
with pineapple.
with pineapple.
Yeah. It's basically ham.
Yeah.
I was going to
We
say,
just call it Canadian bacon.
Why is that?
Fried ham.
We're gonna start. You know what?
Where's the origin of that?
The regular bacon's now going to be American bacon. Canadian bacon and American bacon.
We ate lots of American bacon up here too. So
I mean, I want to know who came up with that. Were they just like, dang it, the Americans got bacon. We must make this Canadian.
we must have our own.
Tortillere.
There's lots of famous Canadians. That's the one thing. There's
There
lots
is.
of famous Canadians that go down to the U.S. and do quite well, like as far as actors and comedians. And
I would almost say like half of our actors,
That's true.
actresses, I feel like are like, oh, they're from Canada. What? There must be like when you guys go to school, there must be a big push to the arts. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, so Red Deer, which is a city, and they're really close here, and that's where our big main farm show is in the fall too. But the college there actually has like an arts that they do like music and acting and all that, and it's a big part. And there's a lot of comedians from Canada, I think, because you got to have a sense of humor to live here. So they probably end up going down there and doing quite well too.
Listen to this list: Celine Dion,
Right.
Jim Carrey, Avril Lavigne, Seth Rogen, Michael J. Fox, Justin Bieber, Pamela
Biebs.
Anderson,
Jim Carrey,
Ryan Gosling,
Yep.
Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
Dwayne Johnson, Dwayne the Rock
He
Johnson.
played he played actually in Calgary for the Stampeders here. So just like an hour and a half for me is he played in the CFL or Canadian Football League.
Ryan
Yep.
Reynolds,
Yeah, The Rock did. Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd.
Ryan Reynolds is from BC. Yeah.
Wow.
That's nuts. See, like here, I think we push our kids to sports a lot, which I love sports, and I played them, and you learn a lot of cool life stuff. But like,
William
parents
Shatner.
end up chasing their kids around across the country for something that they're never gonna do, and these,
Mike Myers, Elon Musk.
We do lots of that up here too.
Right.
Yeah. Hockey's a big one, up here. So yeah,
Right.
for sure, all the kids have played hockey, and then I coach my daughter in women's fastball, so it's like fast pitch
Yep.
baseball with like the 12-inch ball, and yeah, they pitch like the windmill style, and so I
Underhand?
coach that a bit too, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Very cool.
we
So
actually
that's
got
just
to
like
go
our
to
softball.
Delaware to the World Series, so that was pretty cool
That is cool.
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is pretty sweet. So the farmstead that you're on has a pretty significant building, right? Doesn't it have a big old barn on it?
Yeah, our original barn that was there when my dad purchased it. So it was built in 1919, and so it's been around a while. And there's kind of an era when there were crews coming through and building these old barns, and so that's kind of the focal point of my farm a lot of times. And over the years, I've ended up taking lots of photos of it and stuff, and people seem to really enjoy seeing those old buildings, and
Yeah.
you got some character to them, right? So
A lot of history.
yeah, the one pic I did take of it was like a sunset one, and it was one of the first things that I had on probably any social media that really blew up. And I was just coming home one night after spraying out in the field doing my in crop, and then pulled into the yard and I'm like, wow, that's a pretty cool sunset. It had all the rays kind of going over top of the barn, and I took that picture and I posted it, and it was just crazy, the people that just replied to that. And it just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of the cool thing with that old building and just kind of the character of it, and then the sun behind it, and people seem to really enjoy that. So it was kind of a cool moment.
That's awesome.
It is fascinating. I don't, spend a lot of time on the farm outside of spring and fall. The number of sunsets and sunrises that I take in during those two seasons compared to either one of the other two.
Right.
Which you would think it'd be a lot easier to take in a sunset and a sunrise in the winter because
It ain't the same.
it's not.
No,
No.
no, for sure. Yeah, I do lots of pictures during harvest and seeding too with the sunsets with the farm equipment and stuff. So that's a big part of my Twitter during the spring and the fall is that.
Right. So in my intro, I said you're a very positive guy, and that's what I really, really appreciate about you. I don't think I've ever seen a negative thing. It's always positive and uplifting. I love that about you because I know that you don't have always sunshine and rainbow days, So I really enjoy that you do that. What made you go to social media and be that positive guy?
Well, I think initially I kind of went on it just kind of as a thing to reach out to other people because, like I say, I farm on my own quite often. So I'm out there, and you're out in the tractor for hours on end, and it's kind of a way to socialize and to talk to other people, right? And honestly, the whole positive thing is it's really my outlook on life. I've always felt that, you know what, if you try to be the best you can be, you hope for the best for other people. And a lot of times on social media, I started to see that people were getting negative, and it's funny, as you scroll through any social media, you start to get a trend, and you start to see, especially ag Twitter is one that certain nights you'll be scrolling through and it's just like, okay, we're really going down a dark road here. We're seeing, like, you see common things where everybody's kind of in that place where it's like, they're being negative or they're feeling bad or whatever. And so that's when I always try to counter that. And I always want to try to change the narrative of social media. Some nights, especially Twitter, can be bad. So I guess I made a point of it that I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be the other side of this and show the other side of it. And I know it's important to have both sides, the reality of it and being positive. You can be positive to a fault almost, where people start to, you're comparing your Saturday night to somebody's Monday morning kind of thing. It can be tough, right?
Right.
So I don't want to be that guy either, but I also want to be where it's like, let's kind of counter some of this negativity that I'm seeing and show people that there's another side to it maybe. And so I guess I do make a point of that sometimes. And definitely, like you said, Corey, not every day is that sunshine and rainbows, but I try to turn around and say there's always something better coming along and just try to be positive about it.
Yeah, that's a huge mental undertaking. To think that you have enough control or power or influence, whatever words you want to use, to be able to affect another person. But it's just the same way on social media as it is in person. You just say hello and smile and open the door for somebody, you might change their morning. Those, the whole line of pay for the coffee for the person behind me, it changes somebody's day. It's amazing how much power you don't have to think I can change the world. But you can't change it if you don't do anything.
That's right. Yeah. I just actually did a post on it here just this week about taking that first step in a journey, right? It takes those small little steps. You do one nice thing for somebody, that random act of kindness, and it can snowball. It's the butterfly effect, right? You go in and you're nice to the cashier, and then she turns around, or he, and the next 10 people, they smile at them, and then that could turn around their day. So even though you've maybe only really directly affected that one person, indirectly it could be hundreds, right?
Yeah.
And small steps, eh?
And you've also been a pretty big advocate for mental health, especially in farming. And I imagine as farming's lonely in itself, even with you spend a lot of time by yourself doing chores or in the tractor, but you said you're mostly by yourself on the farm all the time. I mean, so you're leaning. Are you using social media as a crutch to help with that?
For sure it is, yeah. To be less lonely, like I say, like we got 18-hour days, and there have been times in the past where I'll work for a couple of days at the farm and not see anybody. I'll go 2 days without seeing another person. Like, because up here we don't have the population, obviously, and we're spread out pretty good, and I might see somebody on the road passing and wave at them, but I might not talk to anybody, right? When you're in the thick of it, and I'm out seeding and I'm by myself and running around, and I have everything basically at the farm as far as inputs, so I'm just grabbing stuff from the farm, going back out of the field. And so definitely it's a social thing for me, like social media. And I have some really good friends that started Do More Ag up here in Canada, if you guys have heard of Do More Ag.
Yes.
And they're kind of that mental health for farmers and ag industry. And three actually really good friends of mine started it up in Edmonton here. I think it's been 5-6 years now at a farm show. They kind of unveiled it. And so I really like to promote Do More Ag and the stuff they're doing. And I donate to them. And I think it's an important thing that, people recognize that it's okay to talk about mental health and if you're struggling and all those things. So I try to post once in a while about it just to kind of keep that conversation going and realizing that there shouldn't be a stigma behind talking about mental health. And that's where Do More Ag has done some great things up here in Canada. And they're spreading pretty much all across Canada now, so it's good.
I got to spend a couple of days back home helping my dad and my mom, and I hadn't been back there for a while since the elevator went to the card. So now you no longer have human interaction. You know, for the longest time, at least you could walk into the scale house to pick your ticket up. You know, you just buzz in, farm name, get probed, go to the dump. You'd get out of the tractor to talk to the guys dumping for you if you wanted to, but everything is now so automated that even hauling grain to town, you don't physically talk to anybody.
Yeah, we're very isolated a lot of times, yeah, and definitely that contributes to the whole mental health thing in ag. So it's important to talk, and that it is kind of like I say. Here we go back to social media again. How Twitter has been an outlet for me where I'm able to interact with other farmers and start conversations. I'll throw up a poll or something about a question and try to strike up a conversation, or I'll do the odd time. I'll put a thought up, just something I'm thinking of that day while I'm driving around in the truck. I'll throw it out there and people will comment on it and it starts that conversation again. And that's as much for me as it is for anybody else, right?
Yeah.
Just to keep that conversation going and staying engaged. And, you know, it's definitely, I know there's negative things about social media, but positive for me has been just having that interaction with people and the people I've got to know. There's so many people in Canada and across North America that I never would have known if it weren't for social media. So how is that a bad thing? It's brought together people and there's so many amazing things. So I look at it as something that I want to protect and help turn into more of a positive note a lot of times.
Yeah. I think most people that are negative about, especially Twitter, but like it's all social media, they see the bad, because there is bad, right? There's a bunch of crap you have to wade through. But if you know where to look and how to look for it, like, it's so good. I love it.
I like the idea of knowing that if my family wants to travel someplace, that there's pretty good odds right now that I'm going to know somebody in that area. And it's not that I have to go see them. I would enjoy that. But at least then you know, hey, here's someone that can tell me that this is a restaurant or this is a site I should go see. I need to go see the largest canker sore in Canada or whatever.
Yeah.
Dinosaur in Canada.
Yeah, dinosaur, yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
definitely. It drives my kids nuts when we go places and there's somebody will walk up and, are you John Kowalczyk from Twitter? I get that.
They don't say
Just
Kowalczyk?
random.
They don't say Kowalczyk. John Smith. Yeah. Next time I run into you, I'm saying John Smith.
Hey, John Smith.
Sounds good.
Ukrainian Smith.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done. They should have just put a U in front of Smith.
There you go.
Should be John U. Smith.
There you go.
John U. Smith. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be easier to spell.
There'd probably be a lot of people, though, that would start with a Y-O-U. Smith, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd still get spelled wrong.
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
So
for
what's the winter look like for you here? Do you have to haul a lot of grain when it's cold, or you just kind of hunker up, or what do you do?
Definitely haul lots of grain. It's kind of our winters here. I got quite a bit of it done this fall. A lot of the companies wanted to take early because of shortages as far as sales. So it worked out well. I had quite a few of my contracts hauled in already, so that'll be kind of nice. And then farm shows, like here we got our Red Deer Farm Show coming up here right away, and that'll be a big one. Next week is CFR, which is our Canadian Final Rodeo. It's in Red Deer, so we're going to go to that and watch some rodeo. And then the week after that will be the Farm Show Agri-Trade in Red Deer, and I'm pretty into that one. I go pretty much, it's the whole week. I always book it off. I've been doing it since I was young. It's just where you go to every year in the fall. I've been since I was in college, and so I'll spend all 3 days there. And I organize kind of a get together the one night where a bunch of anybody on social media can show up, and we'll just hang out at a little pub and have some beer and have some, visits and joke around. And
Very cool.
so that's a big one. And yeah, and then in January I get to go out to Brandon to the Manitoba Ag Days there, and I'm on a panel, and I actually get to do it with Andy Pastor. So Andy Pastor and I,
sweet.
Andy Clean.
Old Andy Clean.
When
Yeah,
you
so
see-
him and I are doing a social media panel.
When you see Andy, you need to remember to ask him how many toes a sheep has.
See if he gets it.
Yeah.
See if he learned.
He should know because he didn't get it when we
I
asked
think
him.
I've seen that one.
when the money was on the line, Andy did not.
His response, 3?
3? How am I supposed to know?
The Korean corn farmer actually cleaned you guys out. I'm surprised you can even afford a set after he went through there. Holy cow!
Yeah. He had a great night. He was pretty stoked. It paid for his fuel to get out there.
Yeah.
He was a happy guy.
Yeah. Do you got any
that was pretty cool.
trips to the U.S. planned this year?
Definitely in February we'll be down again we go to Hemet, which is kind of straight west of Palm Springs, and my in-laws camp there kind of thing. They have a nice little RV park that they have gone to the last probably 20 years, I think. And so we'll go down for a few weeks and hang out there, do some golfing and touring around, and it's always fun.
That's right, you did. You said you were a golfer. Are there very many famous Canadian golfers? I should look that up.
Oh, yeah. For sure there is, yeah. Mike Weir won the Masters.
That's right. I do remember that. That was a pretty intense.
He's a left-hander.
Yes. That
Yep.
that was a pretty good showing, because that's the first time a Canadian's won the Masters ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Mike Weir is the only name that I see that I recognize. A lot
There's
of
a few other ones. There's a few on there now that are
a lot of
doing
black
quite well.
and white pictures. Corey,
Yeah.
Corey Connors.
Well,
that's a
they don't
name.
have as much time to golf in the summer.
Nick Taylor, Corey Connors. Yeah.
Notice any others?
No, not necessarily anybody else big. We might have Canada on the golf side.
Are you a good golfer? Tanner's a good golfer. He golfs every week.
I'm an okay golfer. I'm like a 12 handicap, so on 18. So I do okay,
he
but I'm
golfs
not
like I
the
do?
greatest, but
You're a 12 handicap? What are you?
Not 8, but
Oh,
8 to 12 is the same. It's
Is 8 better?
8 would be better, yes.
But
But
eight would be better. I can do an 8 once in a while. I'm just not
Sure.
consistently an 8.
And I can do a 12 really frequently. I mean, it's not
So
not
how
that far
often do
away.
you have to golf to have a handicap?
You can have handicap on one round.
One round.
It's just the difference between what your average of play is compared to par. So if you play one round, typically they want you to play 4 to 8 rounds in order to establish a handicap.
Okay.
But if you play one, technically your handicap is whatever you shot above par.
Okay. So do you have...
She'd be like a 40.
Yeah. Do you have like a league that you play in?
Yep, right here in Trochu. So we have a men's league. Wednesday nights all summer. We go and we have teams, and then you play against guys on the other team that are similar handicap. And
Yep.
yeah, and we go through and start usually in first part of May and go right into August and golf at least once a week. And then there's different tournaments. We have a 4-ball here, which is 4 guys that golf together, and you kind of like a best ball.
Yep.
And it's a big thing in Trochu. We'll get like 30 plus teams out, and it's kind of a 2-day thing. And it's I always go with the same other 3 guys, buddies of mine, and I guess we probably consume just as many beers as we do hit golf balls.
Yeah.
But it's lots of fun.
I like that part of it.
We've got this idea for a ag social media golf league that combines, you can't be too good to qualify. Like you have to have at least such a bad handicap in order to play. But then you can also get your strokes off for the amount of
Every
alcohol,
beer you take.
every beer that you consume.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's going to be filmed and announced and moderated just like the PGA Tour. I think it'd be way more entertaining for the general public.
It would be, yep. That would be good. It could get a kind of a wreck by the end, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
We'll definitely have to have like a DD bus
Yeah.
take people back.
So
I think if I played at least once a week, I would be a lot better.
you're good now. You don't give yourself enough credit.
I can hold my own, but I'm probably like...
You're better than Dave is, and Dave's not here to
well,
defend
that is
himself.
not hard. Not hard. Dave golfs in his cowboy
It's a
boots.
fun sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, we've had you on the list for a while. I'm glad that this worked out. We were sitting here going, well, it was supposed to be a rain day. It didn't rain. But we figured when we saw that you had some snow on the ground, you'd be a good candidate to catch up with. So we appreciate you saying yes and hanging out with us.
Oh, it's awesome. No, this has been fun.
We do ask the same question to all of our guests, so you don't get off the hook that easily, unless Corey's got more.
Nope.
The question that we have running right now is, what do you enjoy most about being a farmer?
What do I enjoy most? I think still that the people, even though, like I said, you're kind of isolated, but still there's so many people in ag that are just awesome individuals, and you can learn so much from them. And I see it at farm shows, or I see it locally and talking to other farmers or people that are in the industry. And I think that's one of our biggest strength is the people our industry still has, and it's the quality of people.
Right.
I think that's
Yeah.
the big thing. So that's the cool thing of being part of this industry, I think. And that's what makes a guy proud to be a farmer, I guess.
Very cool.
That's good. John, if someone wants to follow you, obviously they can't go out and search John Smith. How do they look you up on social media?
So on Twitter, I am now Kowalczyk Farms 1. You can still follow Kowalczyk Farms, but that account's been locked now because that's the one I lost and just reacquired it thanks to Elon. But I got, and then on TikTok, I'm just Kowalczyk Farms, I think, or John Kowalczyk. And then Instagram, Kowalczyk Farms. And I'm on YouTube now a little bit. I've been trying to do more on YouTube, Kowalczyk Farms there too as well. So definitely follow me there. I try to put stuff on there, especially during the growing season. So,
And for those of you that spell like I pronounce, it's Kowalchuk, correct?
correct, yeah.
Look at that.
Kowalczyk.
The notes
no-
are right. Go to
Got
the
it.
show notes. Hey, just go to the show notes.
There you go.
Yep.
Because everyone does that.
It'll be in the show notes.
Yep.
Well, John, thank you so much. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Corey, what do you tell the listeners?
Crack a bush light. You deserve it.